Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Miranda and I am the Enchantress of Avalon. So for this week's video, I have decided I was going to discuss the major arcana of the tarot, and specifically we're going to take a trip through the major arcana of the Wildwood Tarot by Mark Ryan and John Matthews. It's based on Mark Ryan's earlier Greenwood Tarot deck, which I've never had the pleasure of getting, but I'm also a big lover of the work of John Matthews, so very happy to have this deck. And it is a favorite deck of mine to do readings for my clients with. And I do offer, of course, readings with this deck on my blog, whiteroseofavalon.life. And my tarot and oracle card services are linked in the description box below, always, in all of my videos. So without further ado, let's take a jaunt through the 22 cards of the major arcana. Now, this deck does change out some of the cards, but I appreciate it because what they're doing is they're simplifying the cards and even making them more complex sometimes to better fit with the Wildwood Celtic deck that this is. So it's awesome. And I also want to note the cards are just amazingly, they're thick and sturdy cards. They're amazing. The back has the interwoven trees of life with Celtic knots in the center. Absolutely gorgeous. So where shall we begin on our fool's journey going through the major arcana? Well, we begin at the beginning with the Fool card. In this deck, it is called the Wanderer. And we have this very normal figure for this particular card. It's someone, an androgynous figure, masculine or feminine. You could pick what you think it is. And it's great because the reader can also consider themselves as the fool, no matter their gender. And they are casting off into the wide unknown. And this is a card of new beginnings, of hope, and of optimism that will take us all the way through the, in this case, journey of the Wanderer. And that is why this one is not numbered 0. There is no number on this card. It is 0. It is the very first beginnings before any real steps have been taken. Now, for card number 1. Normally this card is called the Magician. In this deck, it is the Shaman. And you can see him casting his foresty spells and doing his shamanic work. And I love him. His depiction gives me major Merlin during his Wild Man in the Woods time period vibes. And I just love this energy of this card. And I think it's the perfect way to bring the energy of the magician, that master of manifestation, into a Wildwood Celtic deck. Card number 2 of the major arcana, the second step on the journey, is normally called the High Priestess, but this card calls her the Seer. And I think she looks very Morgana in her Witch of the Woods type persona. She is divining with the higher realms and with the other world to gain her insights and her knowledge. And that is what the High Priestess does. She's the divine feminine in the spiritual realm. She is the opposite and counterpart to the magician. So the seer is the counterpart to the shaman, where the shaman is actively creating magic. She is passively absorbing the energies and interpreting them, allowing her to be a great teacher. And leading into the third step on the journey, which is normally called the Empress, but in this deck, it is called the Green Woman. And she is over her cauldron, and she is working as this divine feminine in the material physical world, in this case of the Wildwood. She's literally the Green Woman, literally the goddess of the wood. And I love that the cauldron does appear to be the famed Gunderstruck cauldron, because how is that not awesome? And we see her as this figure of fertility, abundance, sexuality, allure, and the supreme beauty of nature. She's there to be lover, wife, and mother. And she combines the three very beautifully. There to nurture you on this step of the journey. The fourth step of the journey is the Green Man. And he's again over a cauldron. Oh, this one might be the Gunderstruck Cauldron. They're both based on famed cauldrons. And he is working his magic to rule over the land. He is literally the woods made manifest. He's the god of the woods. He is that great god Pan energy. He is absolutely divine rulership. And he is more assertive, more dominant, more aggressive. He is the divine masculine, active, where the green woman is passive. And he will teach you how to find your voice and speak truth, to rule yourself as a sovereign person. Number 5, the 5th step on the journey, is normally called the Hierophant, but I love what this deck does with it. It is instead the Ancestor card, and the Ancestor is depicted as a woman with a frame drum and the head of a deer, a little stag specifically. And that antlered goddess aspect brings in, of course, Ellen of the Ways. And this is very Ellen of the Ways energy. She is there as the energy of the land made manifest. She is the memory of the land. This is a card of remembrance, of learning, and of teaching. And that is what the Hierophant actually is. It's often in other decks tied up with this religious hierarchical order, which that's part of it. But more aptly, the Hierophant is a teacher and someone who is so embedded with learning. And this is learning from ancestors, the ancestral spirits of the land upon which we live, the ancestral spirits of our own ancestors, and the divine ancestors coming before us who have walked the path before we have. 6th card on the journey is the Forest Lovers. Traditionally, it's just called the Lovers card, but this, of course, takes the woodland side of it and calls it the Forest Lovers. And this is actually my favorite Lovers card in any deck ever. It depicts Robin Hood and his maid Marian performing a hand fasting ritual around a tree. They have a bright orange hand fasting cord. The tree is wrapped with green, which to me signals that this took place at Beltane, because we have the whole idea of a maypole happening. And we have these gorgeous florals, and her hair is a mass of flowers, and they are committing their love to one another. And the Lovers card is, yes, about love, about romantic love, but it's also about just any fusion and union of opposites. The 7th card is normally the Chariot, but in this deck it is the Archer. And the Archer is very much this Artemis energy, the wild goddess of the woods and the moon, and she is there to make sure that you're steady on your course and you're going forward full steam ahead, which is what the Chariot is, full steam ahead. The 8th card is the Stag in this deck. Normally it would be the Strength card, and it would depict a young woman and a wild animal to balance the 2 aspects of strength, but this card manages to balance it in a singularly masculine form. He is strength. He is intellectually strong, mentally strong, physically and emotionally strong. And he's there to tell you you have the strength within yourself too. The 9th card is traditionally the Hermit, but it is in this deck the Hooded Man. So we have the energy of that winter time and of going within, introspection. That is the major point of this card. The Hermit, the Hooded Man. He is introspective. He is Merlin in his more more divinely guided internal form, who is there to be sought out when you need him, when you need counseling. But there is a warning to not become too isolated with that card. Number 10 is the Wheel, and it's always the Wheel in pretty much every deck. It's the Wheel of Fortune card. And in This deck, it is about that, the wheel of the year, the wheel of life, the ever-changing tides. And usually it signals an upturn of the wheel, of fate and positive changes, but it can also signal the opposite. It can signal a time of despair. If you've been acting very poorly towards other people, then it's retribution time. The 11th step on the journey is in this deck called the Woodward. Okay. Normally the 11th card is my brain. I'm blanking, but the Woodward is the card in this deck, and the Woodward is the protector of the woods. He's not of the woods himself. He's a human man, no magic in him, but he has been living out in the woods as the wild hunter and as the steward of that woodland for years, decades probably. And to me, he's very much that energy of the huntsman in Snow White who lets her go, having that respect and having that empathy and compassion. And that's what he is. He's strong yet compassionate. The 12th card, which I absolutely adore this 12th card. It is called the Mirror. Instead of the placement being the Hanged Man card normally, this is a very divine feminine card being brought in. And this is supposed to be Morgana in kind of her watery aspect, and she's even referenced, and it is that dark shadow of the soul, the going within, the doing your shadow work, and seeing that mirror be reflected to you. And if you look in the back, look into this card, you have a dead body being brought out to this island area. There's an island over there. So that to me is Arthur being ferried to Avalon, and it's that healing that comes from that internal shadow work. The 13th step on the journey is called the Journey in this deck. Normally it would be the Death card, but I do love that this deck is just like, well, it's a journey because that's what death is. It is a cyclical journey, birth, death, rebirth, over and over and over again for many lifetimes. And of course, there are crows. That makes me so happy. I love crows and ravens so much. And it's the energy of this card. It's the tearing away of that which no longer serves you. Let that be a feast for the crows and buckle down to find what actually does serve you. The 14th card of the Major Arcana, normally called Temperance, in this deck is Balance. Oh, and I just realized 11 is normally the Justice card. Yeah, Divine Truth and Justice, which does fit the Woodward's placement. I knew it would come to me. Anyway, the Temperance card. In this card, it's balance. In this deck, it's balance. And it's literally the, two dragons, balanced energies. It's the story of the two dragons fighting in Dinas Emerus and eventually coming together. And you have the Red Dragon of Wales being that icon. Do everything in moderation. The 15th card is normally the Devil card. But in this deck, with the Celtic spin, it is the Guardian, and he is a skeletal figure who embodies all of the wild energy of the woodland, but also embodies that warning of if you do anything in excess, there would be retributions to pay, possibly in the form of being bound by addictive behavior. The 16th card is normally the Tower card, but this one actually combines the energy of both the Tower and the Hanged Man in the Blasted Oak. The tree is blasted by lightning and a figure falls from it. This is those intense tower time moments that will end. This is the cleansing destruction that's needed to move us along the path into greater understanding. The 17th card is normally the Star. This is the Pole Star, and it is that guiding force. You could see the wanderer following the star's light and being guided toward the next phase of their journey with the hope and determination that this card provides. 18 is Moon on the Water, normally the Moon card. Moon on the Water is the energy of the divine moon, who is both powerfully psychic and also possibly can lead to lunacy. And you need to learn to balance the energy. The 19th card is the Sun of Life, normally just the Sun card, but the Sun of Life is that warmth and energy of the sun radiating, essential to all life on the planet. It is hope, warmth, fertility, and masculine sexual energy too. The 20th card is called the Great Bear. Normally it's the Judgment card, but the Great Bear is there to protect this cave entrance, and you have to be honest with yourself as these judgments are meted out in order to have the renewal needed to end your journey. And that final end is the World Tree, normally the World card, but I love this. It's the World Tree. The tree is in full life, all 4 seasons, and we have a labyrinth. This is the culmination of your journey through the major arcana. And then this journey would begin again. I do hope you've liked this rather interesting look at the Wildwood Tarot's Major Arcana. If you have, please do like, comment, subscribe, and check out my blog, whiteroseofavalon.life, for even more content. Have a very magical Monday, everyone. Bye now.